Wherefore, Series 3, Episode 33. Do you know the dream where you are helping Adam Horovitz to put a fence up to keep the owls out of his polenta mine? And you realise that an owl-proof fence might not be possible, but he seems so keen and happy that you carry on helping him, and then you wake up at almost 3 a.m. and there are owls hooting in the street outside your bedroom window. 5 people had this dream last week. 12 so far this week, suggesting its impact is growing at a more than exponential rate. Peeking cautiously at the future, I think there will be 27 dreamers next week and 58 the week after, but frankly maths is not my strong point. Moths, yes. Maths, no. After close inspection of the Adam Horovitz dream, Professor Bob Fry informs us that it is more like a polenta quarry than a hole-in-the-ground mine. This may be important. He also notes that there is lots of room for the owls to fly over the fence. We won't tell Adam. At this stage, we can say with some confidence that the owls are exactly what they seem. But the jury is still out with regards to the polenta. My suspicion is that the polenta is just trying to make itself seem more exciting. The man formerly in the moon has developed an uncanny habit for having breakfast in cafes at the next table over from extremely famous people. He doesn't have to try or seek them out. They just turn up. This then causes other people in the Stroud district to dream that they were in fact the person who just had breakfast with Patrick Stewart or Bjork or Professor Bob Fry, to name but a few examples. Although, to clarify, no one is clear whether that was a physical manifestation of Bjork or an astral projection. This is a disorientating way to start the day and can both increase or radically reduce a person's desire for actual breakfast. The weaver dreams that she is a moth. This is awkward and results in the weaver actually being a moth for some hours, which puts a considerable short-term strain on her relationship with the large spiders who like to hang out around her bed. The spiders manage not to eat the weaver, but it takes considerable restraint on their part, and 3 of them have a shared existential crisis and will never be quite the same again. The weaver is deeply apologetic about having got into their memories while being a moth, but she had not expected to be a moth, and spider memories are sticky and not easy to spot, and it all feels very awkward. If anyone knows any good spider therapists, please do get in touch. There is a rather confusing night in the dreaming of Stroud in which an owl dreams that it is trying to put up a fence to keep polenta out of its Adam Horovitz mine. As far as anyone knows, no polenta dreams of anything at all, because it is too bland to think about being anything much other than polenta. At this point, Adam has said nothing about his own dreaming, and I admit to being slightly afraid of going to look. If Adam really is developing an owl-proof fence in the collective dreaming of Stroud, this is going to cause all kinds of ructions, and no amount of polenta, mind or otherwise, is likely to calm that down any time soon. In the backs of cupboards, at the bottom of veg sacks, and in forgotten corners of kitchens, uneaten turnips dream of being other than they are. These are the startlement turnips who survived the initial enthusiasm and have gone uneaten for long enough to gain rudimentary consciousness. At the moment, they mostly just appear in the backgrounds of other people's dreams where they sit around trying to look innocent. The turnips are not what they seem, and it is probably a good idea not to trust them. Definitely don't eat any dream turnips that you encounter in the next few weeks. Also, don't eat any of the turnips you find hiding at the backs of cupboards, because the odds are this will not play out well for you. Lars wakes up from a nightmare in which he was eating breakfast with Jeremy Clarkson, and Clarkson kept going on to him about how great cars are and how he should give up cycling and get a car, a really big car. In the dream, Lars is wearing an enormous cardboard box from the waist down, so no one can see how awesome his thighs are, and he feels invisible and somehow also dreadfully exposed. In the dream, Clarkson is eating an entire pig, which is gruesome, not least because the pig is still alive and protests loudly and unhappily in the voice of Benny Hill. Lars would rather like the Benny Hill voice to stop and is afraid the only way to make it be quiet is if the pig is eaten, which is at odds with so many of his principles. Meanwhile, the only thing on his plate is a pile of raw turnips, still with a dappling of soil on their skins. They are looking at him. They don't have any eyes or faces, but even so, the turnips keep looking at him, and Lars knows they are judging him for not sorting out the Clarkson Pig Hill situation, and he feels awful. When Lars at last wakes up, he feels somewhat violated. He struggles with breakfast, which he cannot forego, because how else will he get up the hills to make his deliveries? Distracted, he peels a slightly wrinkled turnip and throws it into the blender with his kale and banana. He needs using, he thinks. This is, of course, a mistake that will play out at some point, perhaps even before the end of the series. Perhaps Lars is going to be the series climax, as the turnips have their uncanny way with him. And if you're wondering what happened when the man in the moon had breakfast with Jeremy Clarkson, let me reassure you that very little happened. The man in the moon entirely failed to recognise the TV star and spent the entire time watching a robin outside of the window and talking to a charming gentleman on the next table who had a lot of things to say about turnips.